The moment you realize you've been trading like a dreamer and not a professional is the moment everything changes. Most people never reach that moment, and that's why most people never make it in trading. Let me tell you something that might be hard to hear. When you first opened a trading account, you didn't come here to become a professional. You came here to escape. You came here with a dream of financial freedom, with images in your mind of quitting your job, traveling the world, buying that house, proving something to someone. That dream feels so close you can almost touch it. And that feeling, that urgent need for trading to rescue you from your current life, has already put you on the wrong side of this game. Because a dreamer enters the market looking for relief from their problems. A professional enters the market looking for clean execution of a proven process. This difference seems small. It's actually deadly. Think about your last 10 trades. Be honest with yourself right now. How many of those trades were taken because you followed your rules perfectly? How many were taken because you felt like you had to do something? How many were taken because you were bored, or scared of missing out, or trying to win back what you just lost? If you're struggling to answer that question, you're trading like a dreamer. A professional can tell you exactly why they took every single trade. A dreamer is just reacting to feelings. Here's what separates these two worlds. A dreamer wants trading to change their life quickly. A professional wants trading to be repeatable. A dreamer measures success by how much money they make this week. A professional measures success by how well they followed their process, regardless of whether they made or lost money. You can hear that and think you understand it, but emotionally, you're still treating every trade like it's the one that's going to change everything. You're still checking your profit and loss every 5 minutes. You're still imagining what you'll do with the money before the trade is even finished. You're still feeling that punch in the stomach when price moves against you. Most traders stay trapped in the same cycle for years. They watch YouTube videos. They buy courses. They learn new strategies. They feel motivated for a few days. They place trades. They lose money. They blame the strategy and go searching for something new. The problem is never a lack of intelligence. It's not a lack of information. You probably know more about trading than you need to know already. The problem is identity. Who you are when you sit in front of that chart. A dreamer sees trading as an opportunity to get rich. A professional sees trading as a responsibility to execute correctly. Dreamers fantasize about results before they master behavior. Professionals obsess over behavior before they expect any results. This is why two people can trade the exact same strategy and get completely different outcomes. One person is trying to win. The other person is trying to execute. Winning is emotional. Execution is mechanical. And here's something you need to understand about the market. It doesn't care how badly you want this. It doesn't care about your bills, your dreams, your confidence, or your effort. The market responds only to probability applied consistently over time. A professional understands this in their bones. A dreamer keeps fighting against it, trying to force the market to give them what they need. The dreamer mindset shows up in small ways that destroy accounts. You win a trade and immediately increase your risk because you feel confident. You lose a trade and hesitate on the next setup because you feel shaken. You skip good setups because you're waiting for the perfect one. You take terrible setups because you're bored and need action. You move your stop loss because you don't want to be wrong. All of this comes from the same place. Emotional attachment to outcome. Let me tell you what a professional trader understands that most people never internalize. No single trade matters. You've heard this before. You might even agree with it intellectually. But emotionally, you still treat every trade like it's important. You stare at the chart. You refresh your account balance. You imagine what you'll do with the profit. You feel stress rising in your chest the second price moves against you. A professional doesn't do this, not because they're fearless, but because they genuinely don't need the trade to work. They already know their edge plays out over hundreds of trades. One outcome means absolutely nothing. This difference alone changes everything about how they trade. A dreamer needs the market to behave a certain way. A professional allows the market to do whatever it wants. Needing creates pressure. Pressure creates mistakes. The professional removes pressure by having zero expectations about individual outcomes. They don't expect to win. They expect to execute according to plan. Execution becomes the goal. Profit becomes the side effect. This is where most people get uncomfortable, because it sounds boring. It sounds slow. It sounds like you're supposed to not care about making money. But boring is exactly what makes it work. Professional trading is repetitive. It's structured. It's unemotional. It's quiet. Dreamers crave excitement. Professionals avoid it like poison. Because excitement leads to overtrading. Excitement leads to position sizes that are too large. Excitement leads to impulsive decisions that break your rules. The market punishes excitement every single time. A professional trader is calm, not because they're supremely confident, but because they're prepared. They already know their risk before they enter. They already know where their stop is. They already know their target. There are no surprises. No emotional negotiations happening while the trade is active. Dreamers want to feel something when they trade. Professionals want to feel nothing. And feeling nothing doesn't mean they don't care. It means they're not reacting. Reaction is the enemy of consistency. The dreamer reacts to price movement. The professional responds to rules. Reaction is fast and emotional. Response is slow and deliberate. This is why professionals look slow to beginners. They wait. They pass on trades. They're selective in a way that feels almost lazy. Dreamers see this as missed opportunity. Professionals see it as risk avoidance. Because professionals are not trying to maximize every opportunity. They're trying to minimize mistakes. Most of your losses don't come from bad strategy. They come from unnecessary trades. Trades you took because you were bored. Trades you took because you had FOMO watching price move without you. Trades you took for revenge after a loss. A professional trader would rather miss a profitable move than break their structure. Because structure is safety. Structure is what allows consistency to exist. Without structure, emotion fills the gap. And when emotion fills the gap, you lose. This is also why professionals spend more time preparing than trading. They review their past trades. They journal their thoughts and emotional states. They plan different scenarios before the market even opens. Dreamers spend their time watching the chart, waiting for something to happen. Watching creates attachment. Preparation creates distance. Distance allows objectivity. And objectivity is the foundation of professional behavior. The professional doesn't care whether the last trade was a winner or a loser. They care whether it followed the plan. The dreamer cares deeply about the last trade because they're seeking validation. They need the market to tell them they're smart, they're good at this, they made the right choice. Validation is dangerous in trading. Once you need the market to validate you, you'll start forcing trades. You'll start trying to prove something instead of just executing your process. A professional already knows who they are. They don't need the market to confirm it. This is why ego is such a hidden destroyer. Dreamers want to feel smart. Professionals want to be consistent. Feeling smart leads to overconfidence. Consistency requires humility. Humility allows you to accept losses without emotional damage. Professionals don't argue with the market. They don't create stories to explain why they lost. They don't justify breaking their rules. They simply record what happened, review it honestly, and adjust if necessary. No drama. No emotional spiral. Dreamers create elaborate stories around every trade. Professionals create statistics. Here's the moment most people realize trading is not what they thought it was. It's not about prediction. It's not about being right. It's not about calling the top or bottom. Trading is about managing yourself in an environment of permanent uncertainty. The professional accepts uncertainty as a fact of life. The dreamer keeps trying to eliminate it, searching for that one indicator or pattern that will give them certainty. You cannot eliminate uncertainty. You can only manage your exposure to it. That's why risk management is the backbone of professional trading. A professional decides their risk before they enter the trade. A dreamer thinks about risk after they're already in. This one habit alone separates two completely different worlds. When you decide risk before entry, emotion has no leverage over you. When you decide risk after entry, emotion controls everything. Professionals are comfortable being wrong. Dreamers are uncomfortable being uncertain. The market forces you to choose. Either you accept uncertainty and survive long enough for probability to work in your favor, or you fight uncertainty and destroy yourself emotionally trying to control what cannot be controlled. Professional trading begins the moment you stop dreaming about outcomes and start respecting process. It begins when you realize the market is not your enemy. The market is your mirror. Every emotional reaction you have while trading already exists inside you. The chart just exposes it. The dreamer blames the market for their losses. The professional studies themselves. This is the shift that starts everything. Not a new strategy. Not better indicators. Not a different system. Identity. Until you stop trading like a dreamer, no strategy will save you. Once you start trading like a professional, even simple strategies become powerful. Now let's go deeper, because the market immediately starts testing whether you really mean it. Not through impossible setups or trick conditions. Through patience, through restraint, through emotional pressure. This is where dreamers get exposed. A professional understands that trading is not about activity, it's about selectivity. Dreamers believe more trades equal more opportunity. Professionals know more trades usually equal more mistakes. When a dreamer opens their charts, their mind immediately starts searching for something to do. They feel uncomfortable sitting still. They feel unproductive when there's no trade happening. Silence feels like wasted time. This isn't a trading problem. This is a psychological conditioning problem. Modern life has trained you to equate motion with progress. Trading punishes that belief severely. The professional trader is comfortable doing absolutely nothing. They don't equate waiting with failure. They know waiting is part of the job. Most losing trades come from forcing action when conditions aren't aligned. The professional doesn't force alignment. They wait for it. Waiting creates space. Space reduces emotional noise. Emotional noise is what causes you to see setups that aren't there. It causes you to enter too early, exit too late, change your plan halfway through a trade. A professional doesn't need to be entertained by the market. They need to be aligned with it. This alignment comes from preparation, not prediction. Dreamers try to predict what price will do next. Professionals prepare for what price might do and decide in advance how they'll respond. This difference is critical. Prediction creates attachment. Preparation creates flexibility. Once you predict, you become invested in being right. Once you prepare, you become focused on execution. The professional has already accepted they don't control the outcome. They only control risk, timing, and behavior. Because of this, professionals don't chase price. They don't feel anxiety when price moves without them. They don't jump in late because they feel left behind. They understand something most traders refuse to accept. There will always be another trade. The market doesn't run out of opportunities. You run out of discipline. Dreamers operate from scarcity. Every move feels urgent. Every setup feels like it might be the last one. Professionals operate from abundance. They know opportunity is infinite. This removes pressure. And pressure is what causes you to abandon your rules. A professional has rules, not because rules are restrictive, but because they're protective. Rules are boundaries that prevent emotional damage. Dreamers see rules as limitations on their freedom. Professionals see rules as freedom itself. Freedom from overtrading. Freedom from impulsive entries. Freedom from emotional decisions that destroy accounts. Rules remove choice in moments where emotion would otherwise take over. This is why professionals predefine everything. They know exactly when they're allowed to trade and when they're not. They know exactly how much they can lose before the trade even starts. They know exactly what invalidates their setup. There's no improvisation once the trade is live. Improvisation is a luxury trading doesn't allow. The dreamer improvises because they're still hoping the trade will work out somehow. The professional follows the plan because the outcome was already accepted as irrelevant before entry. Once risk is accepted, fear disappears. Fear only exists when risk is uncertain. Most traders think fear comes from losing money. In reality, fear comes from not knowing how much you might lose. When the loss is defined and accepted in advance, fear has nothing to attach itself to. This is why professionals feel calm, even when price moves against them. They already agreed to that risk before they clicked the button. Dreamers feel panic because they're negotiating risk in real time, and real-time negotiation always favors emotion. Professionals remove negotiation entirely. They decide once, then they execute. This discipline doesn't come naturally. It's built through repetition and brutal self-honesty. Most people lie to themselves about their discipline. They think they're disciplined because they understand the rules. Understanding rules is not discipline. Following them under pressure is discipline. Pressure reveals truth. A professional welcomes pressure because it exposes weaknesses early when they can still be fixed. They use losses as feedback, not as punishment. Dreamers personalize losses. They feel attacked. Professionals contextualize losses. They feel informed. When a dreamer loses, they think the market is against them. When a professional loses, they review the trade without judgment and ask simple questions. Was the setup valid according to my rules? Was execution clean? Was risk respected? If yes, the trade was successful regardless of outcome. This mindset is almost impossible for dreamers to accept at first, because it contradicts everything they believe about success. Dreamers measure success emotionally based on profit and loss. Professionals measure success statistically based on process adherence. Statistics require volume and consistency. Emotion requires immediate gratification. Trading rewards statistics, not gratification. This is why professionals think in series, not single trades. They know a strategy with a genuine edge will still have losing streaks. They don't interpret those streaks as failure. They interpret them as normal variance. Variance doesn't scare professionals because it's expected. Dreamers fear variance because they expect certainty. But certainty doesn't exist in trading. Once you stop demanding certainty, the market becomes easier to navigate. A professional doesn't try to control the market. They control themselves. They don't try to eliminate losses. They aim to make losses small and manageable. They don't try to win every trade. They try to execute every trade properly. This shift changes how they experience trading completely. Stress decreases. Clarity increases. Decision fatigue disappears because decisions were already made in advance. The professional has a routine. They approach trading like a business, not a game. They know when to start trading. They know when to stop. They know when not to trade at all. Dreamers trade based on mood and impulse. Professionals trade based on structure. Mood fluctuates. Structure doesn't. This is why consistency is impossible without structure. A professional builds their environment intentionally. They remove distractions. They limit screen time. They avoid overanalysis. Dreamers consume endless content hoping it will finally give them confidence. Professionals limit input to protect clarity. Because confidence doesn't come from information. Confidence comes from trust in your process. Trust is built through repetition and proof, not motivation. This is why professionals aren't constantly seeking new strategies. They refine what already works. Dreamers chase novelty. Professionals chase mastery. Mastery is boring. Novelty is exciting. The market punishes excitement. A professional understands that if trading feels boring, they're probably doing it correctly. If trading feels thrilling, something is usually wrong. Thrill means risk is too high. Thrill means position size is too large. Thrill means emotion is involved. The goal is calm execution. Calm doesn't mean careless. It means controlled. The professional respects the market because they respect risk. They don't feel superior after wins. They don't feel defeated after losses. They remain neutral. Neutrality is power. When you reach true neutrality, the market can no longer control your emotional state. You become consistent, not because the market changed, but because you did. This is the real transformation, not external, internal. There comes a moment in every trader's journey where excuses stop working. It's quiet. It's uncomfortable. It's deeply honest. This is the moment you realize the market isn't the problem. Your strategy isn't the problem. Lack of information isn't the problem. You are the problem. And this realization isn't discouraging. It's freeing. A dreamer avoids this moment as long as possible. They keep searching for better indicators, better entries, better mentors, better something. A professional arrives at this moment early and stays there. Because real growth only begins when responsibility is fully accepted. Professional trading isn't built on hope. It's built on identity. A dreamer sees trading as something they do to make money. A professional sees trading as something they're responsible for executing correctly, regardless of outcome. When trading is something you do, results define you. When trading is something you manage, behavior defines you. Professionals judge themselves by how well they followed their rules, not by how much money they made today. This isn't philosophical theory. This is practical survival. If your self-worth rises and falls with your profit and loss, you will never be consistent. Emotional attachment to outcomes guarantees emotional decisions. The professional separates themselves from results. They understand losing trades aren't personal failures. They're operational costs. Every business has expenses. Trading is no different. Dreamers see losses as proof they're not good enough. Professionals see losses as proof they're participating correctly. Participation without risk is fantasy. Risk is the admission price to opportunity. Once this is truly accepted, you stop fighting losses and start managing them. This is where discipline becomes non-negotiable. Discipline is not motivation. Motivation fades when you feel tired or discouraged. Discipline remains constant regardless of how you feel. A professional doesn't rely on their emotional state. They rely on systems. They trade the same way on good days and bad days. They follow the same process whether they feel confident or doubtful. Consistency comes from removing emotion from execution. This doesn't mean emotions disappear. It means emotions are no longer allowed to vote on your decisions. Feelings are acknowledged but not obeyed. The professional might feel fear, but fear doesn't change their position size. They might feel greed, but greed doesn't make them extend their profit targets. They might feel frustration, but frustration doesn't increase their trading frequency. Emotion exists. Control remains. This level of control isn't achieved through willpower. It's achieved through structure. Structure removes choice. When everything is defined in advance, there's nothing to debate in the moment. Dreamers debate with themselves constantly. Should I take this trade? Should I move my stop? Should I take profit now? Professionals don't debate. They execute based on predetermined criteria. Debate creates hesitation. Hesitation creates mistakes. The professional executes decisively because the decision was already made during preparation. They know exactly what they're waiting for. They know exactly what invalidates the idea. They know exactly how much they're willing to lose. There's no confusion. And confusion is expensive in this business. Most traders lose money not because they're wrong about direction, but because they're inconsistent with execution. They break their rules after a loss because they're emotional. They change their plan after a win because they're overconfident. They adjust position size based on how they feel rather than what the setup demands. Professionals do none of this. They remain boring. And boring is profitable. A professional trading day often feels uneventful. A few trades. Long periods of waiting. Short bursts of execution. That's it. Dreamers can't tolerate this boredom. They confuse boredom with stagnation. Professionals know boredom is actually stability, and stability allows compounding. Compounding doesn't come from big wins. It comes from survival. You can't compound what you can't protect. This is why professionals obsess over risk before anything else. They think in terms of survival before growth. If a trade threatens survival, it's not taken. If a day threatens emotional control, trading stops. If conditions are unclear, capital is preserved. Preservation isn't fear. It's intelligence. The professional understands that capital is opportunity. Once it's gone, opportunity disappears with it. This is why they avoid emotional spikes in either direction. Big wins excite dreamers. Professionals often downsize after big wins, because excitement is dangerous. The moment you feel invincible is usually right before a major mistake. Professionals don't trust confidence spikes. They trust process. Confidence that comes from results is fragile. It disappears during drawdowns. Confidence that comes from discipline is durable. It remains intact even when you're losing because it's based on behavior, not outcome. This is why professionals don't panic during losing streaks. They check their behavior, not their equity curve. If behavior is clean, they continue. If behavior slips, they stop and reset. They don't try to trade their way out of emotional states. Dreamers do this all the time. They lose money, feel terrible, and immediately try to win it back to feel better. Trading while emotionally compromised is one of the fastest ways to destroy months of progress. Professionals step away. Stepping away isn't weakness. It's self-awareness. Self-awareness is the edge most traders never develop. They think more screen time equals more learning. In reality, reflection creates learning. Professionals review more than they trade. They journal not just their trades but their thoughts, impulses, mistakes, and patterns. Patterns reveal truth. You can't fix what you don't track. This is why professionals improve while dreamers repeat the same mistakes for years. Professionals close the feedback loop. Loss leads to review. Review leads to adjustment. Adjustment leads to refinement. Dreamers skip the review and jump straight back into the market. They repeat the same behavior expecting different results. Professionals evolve. This evolution is slow. It's unglamorous. It's invisible from the outside. There are no viral moments, no sudden breakthroughs. Just quiet, consistent improvement over time. This is what makes professional trading so difficult psychologically. It offers no immediate validation. You must believe in delayed rewards. Dreamers need quick confirmation that they're on the right path. Professionals accept delayed gratification as the price of consistency. If you need immediate feedback to feel successful, trading will break you. If you can detach from short-term outcomes and focus on long-term process, trading becomes manageable. The professional builds a relationship with the market based on sustainability, not excitement. They're not here for thrills. They're here for a career. Careers require patience. They require restraint. They require responsibility. This is why professionals stop comparing themselves to others. Comparison creates insecurity. Insecurity leads to forced behavior. Everyone operates on a different timeline. The only comparison that matters is between who you were yesterday and who you are today. Progress is internal before it's ever external. The moment you stop trying to prove something to the market stops punishing you. This is the final separation between dreamers and professionals. Dreamers want validation. Professionals want consistency. Validation fades. Consistency compounds. When you trade like a professional, results become a byproduct, not the goal. You stop chasing money and start managing decisions. And ironically, that's when money begins to follow. This isn't magic, it's alignment. Alignment between your rules and your behavior. Alignment between your risk tolerance and your psychology. Alignment between your expectations and reality. Once alignment is achieved, trading stops feeling like a battle. It becomes a process. A process you respect, a process you trust, a process you repeat with discipline. This is how professionals trade. Not with dreams and hopes and desperate needs, with discipline, structure, and unwavering commitment to process over outcome. That's the difference. That's everything.